This man was threatened by the tattooed man pointing a gun, but in an instant he regained the gun to control the opponent. It turned out that he was an excellent agent but retired. An accidental incident has led him to fight an entire mafia organization. Robert used to be a CIA agent living in Butsun. Because he's old. He doesn't want to face fights or deadly missions every day, he wants to end his life, live a simple life like other normal people. So he deliberately caused a little trouble to get suspended and quit at the CIA. Currently Robert is working as a commercial worker near his home. Although the daily work is always repetitive, he does not feel bored. Instead, she feels less happy with her current life. When the shift is over, come home to have dinner. Every night, having trouble sleeping. He would go to a cafe to read a book for a while. Because he worked in the CIA for many years, Robert was always meticulous in everything. Even placing a book on the table should be neat. That day, Alina also went to the cafe to relieve her mood. After a tiring day, Alina is a prostitute working for a mafia organization, except for receiving customers every day. In her free time she often goes to a cafe to listen to music and relax. Robert and Alina became friends. After listening to Alina talk about what she was going through, Robert advised her to give up her job as a prostitute. However, saying it is easy, but doing it or not is another matter. At that moment, Alina's phone rang. She had to leave the cafe and get in the car with a big fat man. The next night, Robert met Alina again at the bar. The bruises on Alina's face were the product of last night's fat guest. He is a pervert, loves to use violence against girls, has less sympathy for Alina's situation and once again advises her to find another more suitable job. But he doesn't know that the Russian mafia that Alina is working with is terrible so as not to affect their relationship. Alina chose to be silent. The two walked together and talked before returning home. After being encouraged by Robert, Alina's mood improved a lot. Suddenly, a car appeared right in front of them. A man got out of the car and grabbed Alina, without saying a word, slapping her in the face. It turned out that last night, because in self-defense, Alina beat the injured customer. So he reported back to her boss. She tried to help but Alina brought it back and said she was fine. Since he didn't know their background, he didn't want to act rashly. At this time, Alina's boss walked over to the door, handed him a business card and treated him as a customer. The next night, Rue went to the cafe again, but waited forever, but Alina did not appear. The cafe owner said she was beaten to the point of being hospitalized, and immediately went to the hospital. Seeing Alina being beaten to the point of bruising, lying in the intensive care unit, Robert felt very frustrated. After asking Alina's best friend, he discovered that it turned out that this was not the first time she had been beaten like this, and as soon as she recovered, Alina had to continue to receive guests as usual. If there is still an aggressive attitude, customers, Alina will be handled by the gang, feel less guilty if he did it that night. Perhaps Alina would not have been tortured as brutally as so. Returning home, eased the struggle in his heart, thinking about a new prostitute. Is it worth it for him to return to the job of an agent? Finally, Lulu took out his business card and went to the nightclub of the Russian mafia. Robert got straight to the point. The reason for coming here is because Alina hopes to redeem her freedom. Alina's boss laughed after hearing that. The robot withdrew $10,000, but the boss told him that this amount was too little to ransom that troublesome girl. Moreover, this amount of money he could earn from Alina in just a few weeks and told him to take the money back and turn his hand away from the humiliation of the opponent. Robert just smiled and turned around to lock the door. The instincts of an agent with many years of experience can help him calculate the time to handle the crowd. He presses the clock to step closer and then suddenly turns around to defeat the guy behind, reducing the opportunity to point the gun towards the leader, shot him dead and then hit the gunman on the head with a cup. Two other guys rushed up to attack like Ruth robbed and quickly handled all the gangsters without losing a single hair, or any hair. In the end, only the long-haired robot man reached for a wine opener as a weapon. With 2 punches he broke his opponent's arms. It was followed by a finishing blow that pinned the spear straight into his chest. After clearing the scene, Aro looked down at his watch and only took 28 seconds to defeat these mafia mobs. The next day he went to work at the supermarket but nothing happened. At this point Vladimir, the boss of the Russian mafia, has learned that his junior has been murdered. The death of the core member has interrupted the gang activity in Bosch, the import business. The transportation of goods all had to stop. So Vladimir sent Nikolai, his trusted subordinate, to the US to investigate the incident just now. He immediately went to the booth to summon the leaders of the gangs in the town. After observing the scene, he found surveillance video. That day, he received news that he was the culprit who killed his subordinates. However, through investigation, the nun learned that Robert was no ordinary murderer. He pretended to be a policeman and came to find the checkered late at night. Both were very careful not to reveal any information in the conversation. However, just asking a few questions, Robert discovered that Nikolai was a member of the Mafia gang. The next night Robert went to the cafe again. Coffee as usual, Nikolai also secretly watched. But Robert soon found out. If he was really a worker, he would not have such a tattoo on his hand. Seeing that he had been exposed, the nun's man was about to pull out a gun to kill him. But he did not know how superior the man standing in front of him was. His gaze began to judge in an instant. Using a book also knocks up the gun and knocks down the opponent. Outside, Nikolai is watching Rue's every move when the power is turned off. After a while, Robert came out with his camera and kept taking pictures of Nikolai's car. He then gave the photograph to a former colleague in the CIA for help. All information about this mafia gang has been found. The head is Vladimir the Russian. He specializes in supplies such as gasoline, weapons, prostitutes, banned substances. He has established a complex network on both sides of the United States and is fully secured. The relationship between money and politics makes Vladimir invulnerable. Nikolai is Vladimir's godly subordinate. He is also a very smart person, used to be a secret police. Less than expected to face such a big force. He decided to go first. The next day he went to the house of Santon, a corrupt policeman, after a violent greeting followed by gas torture. He eventually had to give information and lead Robert to a vault of Vladimir's money. There are many juniors sitting here counting money. He told him that this place has been exposed and must withdraw immediately. However, the leader here did not believe it, and took out his gun and smiled lightly. But in the blink of an eye, he stole a gun and threatened contrary to quickly control the scene and immediately notify the police to confiscate Vladimir's entire vault. He then uses his computer and discovers the mafia's underground dealings. Follow the clues to find Vladimir's oil tanker and set the bomb to explode to ashes. Vladimir went crazy when he heard the news that the vault and the oil tanker had been destroyed. He ordered Nikolai to make Robert disappear from the world immediately and forever. However, they couldn't find him, so they went to the supermarket where Checkered was working. He took his colleague hostage to force Robert to surrender. The supermarket warehouse is a familiar place for checkers. He broke into the monitoring room and lured one of Nikolai's juniors inside and attacked. Received a warning, Nikolai immediately blocked the entrances of the supermarkets. Cut off all the power and set many traps in the supermarket. One mafia guy accidentally stepped on a trap that was pulled into the air and was strangled to death. Another guy heard the screams of his accomplices and rushed over, but when he saw the bodies of his accomplices hanging, Robert used scissors. Pierced his neck. At this time, the lights in the supermarket were all on. Another mafia man discovered a microwave oven with explosives inside, but before he could run away, he was blown to pieces. In the end, only Nikolai was left to fight, and drew closer with a nail gun in his hand and ended his life. Vladimir was exposed to many illegal business cases, so he fled. Sang Moscow. The cheetah came here and broke into his mansion, turned on the faucet and put an open wire under the orchestra. Vladimir stepped out to get a gun and turned off the faucet when he was electrocuted painfully until he swallowed the garlic bulb. And Rue calmly left the scene. Alina was discharged from the hospital and was suddenly reunited on the street. Now she looks more radiant, true to her age. Alina followed Robert's advice and found a satisfactory job. She plans to apply to a vocal training school to fulfill her dream. Checkered smiled and felt that what he had done was indeed not wasted. The beauty kissed Robert's cheek, making him feel very proud. Then the two said goodbye to each other. The spy returned to the supermarket to work as usual. The movie ends here. See you again, aunts, uncles, brothers and sisters in the next movie. Please subscribe to support the channel, so that we have the motivation to make more interesting videos. The next delicious and attractive. Wish everyone health, happiness and love and affection.